Welcome to the Microdosing for Healing podcast. I'm your host, Casey Garrett, and together we'll be discovering and learning from inspiring voices of healers, medicine keepers, and visionaries. Every episode, we'll explore the world of health, vibrant wellness, and natural medicine for a new era of human society. Welcome to today's episode. Hello, everybody. Great to see you. It is just us chickens today. I thought I would record a solo episode with you. Well, kind of. My guide has some things to share that I'll be sharing with you today. So it's a sort of kind of solo episode today. So first of all, I think I just want to acknowledge how extraordinary this year is, how unique this year is, and 2025 will go down to be the most challenging year of our lifetime for many of you. So I just want to start off by acknowledging that. If you're feeling that, I just want to affirm you and go, you're not nuts. It's really, really challenging to navigate. I've been in the healing world with colleagues for close to 3 decades now, and I can recall very specific conversations and moments across time, decades ago, when I was talking to some mentors and teachers, colleagues of mine that too have devoted their lives to healing and growth, and talking about 2025, this moment we were moving toward, knowing what it was going to hold. And being here now, the past few weeks has been pretty surreal to reflect on, 18, 20 years ago conversations I had. And like now to be able to see it real time happening is pretty remarkable. So I just wanted to start off acknowledging that. And for those of you who are new to me, hello and welcome. So earlier this year, January, I was making dinner one night and my guide came through, as she does when she wants to. And as I do, I drop whatever I'm doing and I pay attention. And she said, this year's going to be really annoying. And I was like, oh, is that so? How? And say more. And she said, the theme of this year, this is the year of the pure. And I was like, P-U-R-E? And she said, oh, no, P-U-E-R. So I spent much of that night researching the root of the word pure, where it came from. And it's the root of the word puerile. That's a more common word you might be familiar with. Puerile is this essentially cowardly, small-minded, kind of puffed up, often youthful, inexperienced arrogance that looks tough and inflated and talks a big game, but there's not a lot behind it. It's this very immature, often underdeveloped masculine energy. Oh boy, was she right? I mean, it's just been like one pitch after the other in the subsequent months and days. And, now that we're about almost 10 months into this year, we just see more and more evidence of this. And so a few weeks ago, I said, okay, you were right. You're right. But what's next? This is as annoying and as painful and as heartbreaking as you alluded it would be. What's next? Tell me what's next. What's the next? What are we going to step into once we leave this pure period? And she said, the next phase we step into as humans, let's call it the great humbling. It's like, right? And but it wasn't intimidating. It wasn't daunting the way and the tone she shared it. It was more of the vibration of inevitability and just wait. It just wait. It's kind of like the essence of, when you're working with nature in any capacity, right? A lot of the practice is waiting for the seasons to change, waiting for the tide to come in, waiting for that moment and that divine timing. And in between now and then, just trusting and holding faith that it is on its way. It's actually already begun. We just can't feel it yet, right? This wave that's largely been underground, that's largely been unseen, has actually been building for a very, very, very long time. The ancients spoke of it, the mystics speak of it, nature knows it, right? And there is an inevitability of it. So if you are really struggling and really having your heart broken right now, every day, just trust there's already something very different coming in that's already begun. We just can't see it yet. We can't feel it yet. We're not in it yet to have that affirmation of sight, but trust that it is coming. So I wanted to share today, a lot, too much has been spoken and opining and sharing like what we're going through right now. And while I have thoughts and opinions, of course, just like all of you, I wanted to focus today on where we're going and to support you both as earth medicine practitioners, if you're supporting other people in practice, that might help and support and inform your guideship. But also if you're practicing with earth medicines as a participant, things that will help you orient your practice as we move forward. So one thing that's going to be changing dramatically in the coming years is we're really going to start to see the human evolve and branch off into different flavors of human. I have spoken about this before, but we're going to start to see it more tangibly now in the coming years. And as we do, we're going to make it a problem or not make it a problem, right? The difference that we see coming in is not a problem. It's humans evolving again. So learning to work with what you're seeing in the world and the differences that are coming in. And this might be everything from people choosing to live very unconventionally, people deciding to express themselves very unconventionally, an extreme growing level of neurodivergence, people operating differently than we have seen before is going to become more and more common. And we are going to have a choice to make if we make it a problem or we see it as inevitable and a part of our evolution, and we welcome it and embrace it into our humanity, right? We have a tendency to make a problem, anything that's unfamiliar to us. And this is deeply, deeply rooted in our fear body. So backing up for as long as we have lived and many, 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 many generations that we still carry within us, we have been living off a program of fear, of top-down authority, of do this, don't do that, or you will be punished. Do this because daddy, the king, the pope, etc., this authority figure told us to do it or not do it, right? And that has been the programming that has been passed down that we still all hold to varying extents in our bodies. As we move forward and as we evolve, the fundamental difference in some humans going this way and some humans going that way is going to be the degree to which we hold fear in our bodies. The more that we can do now to metabolize and work with the fear we hold in our own body, it is going to help us adapt and thrive in the years ahead. It is going to make us better in every way. And particularly if you are a person that is creating community and holding space for others and supporting the growth and healing for others, your ability to guide and support and hold space will be directly tied to how much you have purified, metabolized, healed yourself, and cleansed your own fearfulness and fear body, dense fear energy. Because when we metabolize that, which is different than healing, right? It's a distinct frequency. When we metabolize our fear body, right? There is no othering that happens, right? Because we fundamentally shift our perspective of the world in such a way that we're not moving consciously and unconsciously looking for attack, right? We're not constantly suspicious. We're not constantly mistrusting and distrusting and on the defensive to everyone and everything. Right now, we're kind of just at such an extreme of this. It's kind of a caricature at this point where the anger and the fear and the grievance is so over the top that there's nowhere to go with it. And I think that's largely what my guide is sharing with me, what she means by the great humbling. You know, the vision she shows me, she often shows me a visual to kind of accompany what she's trying to express. And she's showing me this magnificent tidal wave. And it's coming and it's growing, but instead of kind of coming back and crashing on the shore, it's curling up and back and coming up onto ourselves. And essentially, everything that we have not metabolized ourselves, right? And continue to blame others, make others responsible, direct it externally, have not contended with, is going to come back. It's kind of a collective rite of passage. It's a collective menopause, if you will, for humanity. That's where we are. And so it holds enormous potential for gifts to come in for all of you. More on that in a second. But we're also going to see the extreme edges of resistance. And that is what is so painfully being broadcast in great expanse across our culture right now, right? Is we're at the very end of the end, and we're at the very baby beginning of the beginning, and we can't feel it yet. Right now, it's just like little threads, or we catch little glimpses out of the corner of our eye of what can be. Some of you might be dreaming about it. Some of you might be catching threads of it in conversations that you overhear. You might have glimpses when you're walking in nature of where we're going. This is going to happen more and more, but right now it's really hard to break through the overculture and the energy of fear and resistance right now. The gifts. Let's talk about the gifts that many of you are going to be experiencing coming through. So lots and lots of you are going to have gifts come through that are your birthright in some cases, are part of your lineage, your ancestry, are part of your unique soul blueprint for this lifetime, right? And what is going to allow these gifts to come through and really unfurl within you is your ability to clear fear. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. It's inevitable and it's going to happen anyway. But the more that you kind of create your container, and you create your container of safety and trust within your physical body, within your spiritual body, and really work to metabolize distrust, work to metabolize old programming, and be open to reflection from spirit. Oftentimes the people who care most about us in my I have real people, and also my guide is this way. She can be very, very tough with me, right? And so you might have people in your life that are say things you don't want to hear or say things you don't know if you're quite ready to hear, right? And are working on behalf of spirit, who are working on behalf of the nature, who are working on behalf of the mushrooms to speak the truth to you so that you may metabolize fear. Oftentimes if something triggers us or something irritates us more than we're expecting, that's the very thing that is like standing in the way of us reaching these greater potentials that are possible for us, right? So lots of you, don't be surprised if you have little openings, you start to dream powerful dreams. If you start to know what people are going to say before they say them, know that you have a new heightened sense of what other people are feeling. And when these things start to happen, give yourself the grace to adjust to it, right? It's kind of like being in a completely different frequency or a completely different altitude, right? When you land in it, it's kind of like, whoa, I am having trouble kind of getting my bearings here because it feels so different, right? That's exactly normal. And so give yourself the grace. And Americans, I know you, not days and hours, give yourself weeks and months to adjust to this new frequency. One of the things my guide had shared with me to share with our community that was very helpful is, time is speeding up rapidly. I know lots of you feel this. Like a lot of my clients have been saying, like, I can't get grounded. I can't slow down. I almost feel like energetically I have to dig in my heels and slow the world down, slow life down, because I'm feeling this intensifying pressure. That is the shifting in the background frequency that's going on right now. And one of the ways she gave me to explain it was to imagine we're moving from a time of the elements of earth and water into the time of fire and air. And with that, in a frequency, imagine you're in a frequency of earthiness and wateriness. Like there's something to touch, there's something to feel, there's something to lean into and hold us. There's a steadying quality to those elements. We don't have that anymore. We don't have it anymore. And for a while, we were kind of like teetering back and forth between the two. Now we are fully in this new frequency. And it's very destabilizing. It's very, very destabilizing. So if you're experiencing things in your physical body, just weird sensations, pressures, inflammations, puffiness, like those kind of physical things, mentally, if you're feeling more spacey, like you can't pin down a thought, you can't finish a book, you feel kind of just staticky, staticky and swirling, and that is this new energy. So the gift of this new energy is it's so fast. It's so fast. Like we are going to heal at rates we have never experienced before. We're going to grow and open to our gifts and be able to manifest things so quickly because the energy is moving just so much more quickly. For those of you who have done a lot of intuition development, once you tap into your seat of intuition and you're living from that place, life becomes so easeful and elegant and fast because you're moving from a soul place. You're not moving from a mind place anymore. So we realize how slow thinking is. Right? Thinking is like the slowest form of being. It's actually like when we come from our knowing place, it makes decisions almost like non-decisions. It's just the way it is, right? And so lots of you are going to be experiencing this kind of on steroids, right? Where if you were already a pretty, like, I felt it in my gut, I felt it in my body, it's going to be undeniable now. Like, you're not going to be able to override that like you once were. Things are going to move so quickly in your life. So it's going to be really refreshing because we're not going to have to metabolize things as much anymore, right? A great analogy. I moved to Florida now. I'm in a tropical climate, and it's such a beautiful reminder constantly because now I know the weather can change, and it's like, well, okay, the weather's changed, but it could change again in 6 minutes from now. It's like it's so many seasons within one day. And that's exactly how this new frequency is going to be. You're going to be able to metabolize things much more quickly. You're not going to want to hang on to stuff, hang on to old programming, hold on to stories. I have a lot of clients coming to me now and going, I am so sick of talking about my trauma. I'm just so sick of it. So sick of it. I'm done with it. I'm done with the story. And that's a sign of this changing. Like, we're moving into our feeling bodies. We don't want to be in our mental selves as much anymore. We're moving into feeling. And this is going to have so many ramifications: how we learn, how we heal, how we grow, how we commune. This is going to be what drives our society as we recreate our future and how we connect and how we move together in this world. It's largely going to be driven from a very, very different place than what we're coming from. So keep in mind with this change in frequency, too, these elements will inform everything that we do differently. So think when you're interacting with humans, or you're kind of watching humans interact on the playing field of life, right? Understand that, think fire and air, and it will help you make sense of like why things are moving the way and why energy is moving the way that it is. It's marked by speed of transition. There's going to be a lot of mistakes made, right? Misinformation out there, transmissions all over the place. This kind of chaotic feeling we have is very air like. Fire, right? Too, like, people are passionate, people are full of anger, heat, and rage, but also, too, there's a lot of energy for creation and building and momentum and people being inspired to do things and build things differently. Another big shift that's coming, and we're closing in on about a year to go, a year and a half to go, is, as many of you know who have worked with me, I studied human design. And in human design, we are fundamentally changing the background frequency within which we live. So it's not altogether different from this elemental frequency that I just described. In human design, we're moving from a period of top down, very tribal, very institution driven. We are put in our place, put in our roles, right? Sound familiar? Deeply conditioned to serve an authority figure, a boss, a dad, a king, an emperor. Like, that is what has been kind of coded and imprinted upon us in our programming for hundreds of years. That is going away. And there's a deep dis-ease with something changing that dramatically. Think about everything that has held our society together, has held people together, is going away, right? Very few people are going to be prepared for that. Some of you listening are. Right? That's what you're here for. And some of you are receive that and go, game on. I'm ready. Here we go. But most people are going to be deeply, deeply destabilized by that. So, particularly again, if you are supporting people in your life, are you in a guideship role and coaching or therapist of people, that a big part of what we're providing to people is something in place of that, right? When people no longer have the scaffolding of this is the way to do everything because I told you so, or you'll be punished, right? How do you build? Like how do you know what to do and where to go and direction? This is where the future of guideship is giving people a new framework, a new lattice work to build our lives around that are more about connection, collaboration, interdependence, shared values, shared interest, shared soul development, and interest in living very differently, living from an intuitive feeling place versus a mind and identity place of titles and structure, right? So, in bridging this gap, one of the things that I will be implementing in my structures and programs and community is really bringing a lot more of that structure in, that consistency in, because there's not going to be a whole lot of it out there, right? So, whether you are practicing in your life, within your family, in your community, or you're helping support other people, the more that you can be consistent, grounded, have clear values, have clear morals. And this is not to say you're not out proselytizing and preaching and telling other people what to do. Quite the opposite. The more you are focused on being, holding yourself to your own truth, to your own integrity, to your own standards, that is going to be the most valuable thing going forward as we bridge this gap, as we move into an entirely new future and way of doing things. It's going to be a shit show to the extent I don't even think people could get their minds around now. You know, it takes a while for incompetence to really show itself when you don't have competent leaders or people who, control all the power and the resources. It takes a while for that to trickle down. Next year, we're going to start to feel that trickle down effect. And things are really going to start to go sideways. Things that we used to rely on and count on aren't going to work anymore. Things are going to happen, and we're going to be waiting for the rescuers to come, and no rescuers will come. It's going to be really, really, really uncomfortable if you're not expecting that. And most people aren't expecting that. Most people didn't sign up for that, but they did. They didn't really, really put that together. But we're going to see it real time. So while this is happening, and before this happens, and this is especially true if you're supporting other people, the more that you can prepare for that eventuality and start to build what people need, what people are going to need when everything comes apart to be ready to catch people, right? And it's beautiful. We're kind of going to be building a new future simultaneously to this existence over here, right? And that's just the way how it's going to play out. There's going to be a lot of humans for generations to come that are still operating in this, that are in this fear-based authority structure over here, while another slice or strand of humanity is over here building a new way of being altogether. So one of the greatest ways of getting out of this matrix and this programming and this game is to not play the game at all and go build a totally different field and an altogether different game. That's how it's going to play out. So one of the best things we can do as guides and models is to hold this paradox and hold both at the same time while not getting totally caught up in reacting to the old existing, rather pouring our love and our passion and our fire energy and our air energy and elements of manifestation into creating the new, right? So that when things come, there is a place for people to go, okay, this serves us truly for what we need now. After President Jimmy Carter died, you know, I got really interested. I had studied him a bit before, but superficially. I read things about him, that most people know of. He's a devout Christian. He was a very humble gentleman, a really devoted husband, and just loved the earth, loved people. And most people know those things about him. And so knowing that, especially based on what we see now and context we see now, I was like, how in the world did this dude ever become the leader of the free world and the president of the United States? Like all of these qualities are so completely the opposite of what we see now being held up as leadership. And I was like, that's so interesting. How does someone like that even have the sharp elbows to kind of ascend to a position that way? And so I got curious. And so I started reading some biographies about Jimmy Carter. And it was so fascinating. It was so fascinating. The more I read, I loved him even more the more I read about him. And he just went to work. Like he was always so dedicated and devoted to the greater collective purpose and end. And he worked backward from there. It was pretty amazing. He was the Doge. He was like the real Doge before the fake Doge that we saw now, which is really just to pull things apart so certain people could benefit. He was the original Doge. Like Jimmy Carter in his short time in office, he took like hundreds of government agencies and folded them into like 20 and made them work, made everything in the government more lean and efficient and sustainable, and most of all, effective. Like he made changes and implemented and led to what are the things that can be changed in our system to optimize them so that everybody benefits. And it's a completely different perspective from what we see now, which is let's be fearful of other people getting what I have or wanting more, to a when everybody has enough, when everybody is served to the extent that we can, right, within a system structure and a capitalistic system structure, everybody benefits by that. When one person succeeds, everybody benefits by that. And the more I read, I was like, this guy had to be a projector. He was a human design projector. And so I ran his chart, and lo and behold, he was a projector. And some other projector leaders that we have seen, like Nelson Mandela is a projector, Barack Obama is a projector, Abraham Lincoln was one of the earliest projectors. And the projectorhood is the frequency that we are moving into in February of 2027. And one of the qualities of projectorhood that I love the most is projectors are not here to see ourselves. Projectors are here to see the other and serve the other and guide the energy of humanity. And so when I look at the way, Barack Obama or Abraham Lincoln or Jimmy Carter led, they're always thinking of the bigger collective picture. Like, what is the net for the most amount of people? And so it's very, very different decision making from what benefits me And then through my charity and largesse, I will give out, right? Which is very top down, king, emperor mentality to how do we diversify and resource the greatest number of people so that they, in their giftedness and creativity, can express in service to the greater whole and greater collective. And one person succeeding is not a threat to anybody else's success because their own success is their own. It's completely different. So when you look at the leadership of a Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama or Abraham Lincoln, it almost looks so quiet and easy to overlook and humble when really it's just they're trained to look so differently at the way to lead and kind of maximize everyone and our human potential. Another way to look at it is like a symphony right now, right? When you are looking at a symphony, there are lots of different players. There's lots of different people playing different instruments at different times and the sequencing things. A projector is always looking from the eyes of like the conductor role. It is seeing the field. It is seeing the pit. It's seeing the whole orchestra and the audience and all of the parts, how they work together. And it's a very, very, very different way to look at life. And that is what's coming in next, right? And so as the baby boomers age out and they let go of power, eventually, right? Eventually, um, we see this energy in the youngest generations in the planet. It's a way more collective way of seeing the world, and it's a much longer vision, right? Is they look at us rightly so and go, God, we're so myopic, right? But when we're only looking out for ourselves in this top down way, of course, it's really easy to be myopic, right? Versus the opposite, when we are farsighted, we make decisions and lead very, very differently. So that's what we're moving into. That's what we're moving into. We're just in this very messy, incoherent, chaotic middle ground. So our role for those of us living right now is actually really unique and really important. And it's daunting, right? As a lot of you know, especially some of you know. But it's so unique in that we have the rare gift of like literally straddling two eras, everybody alive today, which is very special and very rare. And so I know from my part, whenever I'm feeling heartbroken, which is every day right now, my practice is kind of coming back home to what am I doing in my life? Like, what am I doing with my offerings and my time here to orient us, to orient us to where we're going, not where we are right now. And so each of us can do that in our own ways, and it need not be a profession. That's another thing I want to emphasize. Like, we're going to totally let go of we are one person in our profession. We are one person in our personal life. We're one person when we're with our family, when we're with other people. That is going completely away. Again, that was part of this old programming and these narratives and these siloed living. Like, we are increasingly going to feel very uncomfortable with that. Lots of you know what I mean already, where you are kind of, you can't do it anymore. I used to be able to fake it and I can't fake it anymore. Like, I just have to be who I am in all of these different parts of my life, or it's not aligned anymore. And if I have to fake it, I have to let it go because it doesn't fit in my life anymore. This too is where we're going. And so you don't need to quit your job and go be this or go be that. It's learning to be a healer and learning to hold space and learning to support people just in your day-to-day life, like in how you move through the world. When you're at the gas station or when you're at the supermarket or whether you're in your professional role or when you're playing with your dog, like we're going to move into a time where ultimately to be in our alignment, we are the same person all of the time. And the best way to move into that is be with other people who are doing that. It's really remarkable. So I see that so much in guideship now, in the way the role of the guide is really changing because it's not any longer what we're saying people and telling people, it's who we are that's really shifting and changing people. It is the more you clear yourself of fear, the more you clear and clean your own energy, the more you're able to hold clear, clean presence just in your day-to-day life is going to have untold ripple effects as to how it can help support the healing of others without you saying a word, right? Which is new. It's very, very new. So those are some of the big, big things that I see coming in, shifting. Right now, I know a lot of you are like, this year, I really don't know how much more I can take this year and this energy. I think one of the things right now in this moment at the time that I'm recording this, I was sitting, I spent most of the weekend outdoors, most of the weekend in nature, just open to listening, listening, listening. And more than anything else, my guide kept coming through and saying, you go together. You go together. And so whenever she repeats things, she's waiting till I get it completely. And sometimes when she shares things, especially succinct things, sometimes it can take me weeks or even months to really get and to sink into what she was trying to say. What she was trying to say was through this time, it's really important, like right now in this moment, is the old paradigm is very, very, very loud right now. It's very intentionally overwhelming and threatening and going overboard, right? We know this to instill fear and to cement itself, right? Despite what the majority wants, trying to cement its power and control in these old ways of being so that we can't change them even if we wanted to, right? It's really, really, really important right now in this moment to find your people, find the others that are already operating in this new frequency, who are orienting themselves in this new frequency, who have no interest in participating in this any longer. And by being together, she was saying, we will go faster together. As I shared earlier, the element of air, like this fire and air element, like things can move so fast. We're going to create so fast. We're going to innovate so fast. Like it's going to blow your mind, like completely blow your mind how much change is going to happen in the next 5 years. It's going to be wild. And we're going to create it. And the rate at which it's going to happen is going to be remarkable. And a lot of our ability to do that is to find each other and be together in that. Just from our presence, from our spark of inspiration that happens when we're together innately, even without saying a word, is just by being together in the company of people who are affirming this new way of being in the world is going to be so, so important right now in the near term, immediate. So find your people. That might be at your local yoga studio. That might be through an online community that you see regularly. It might be through professional collaborations and kind of circles that you do with other people and other professionals that are in the healing arts or in education, or so that you can support each other, you can collaborate, you can, most of all, develop the strength and the courage to do new things, right? That's very, very new to us. We've been so conditioned to follow the rules and listen to dad and then listen to the boss and wait for people to tell us what to do and what we can do and get permission. And we kind of like take when there is no model anymore, right? There's going to be this collective, like, when we stand around and wait to be told what to do when we're not used to it. When you're around other people who are already sovereign and self-directed and self-responsible and are going already creating things to serve themselves and to serve the people in their families and communities and world, that we by going together, we will speed everything up and along. And right now we have so much momentum and support from the universe. So much that we cannot see or sense yet, but we're going to see it and sense it. And I think a lot of the creations that we make in the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to look back and go, those were divinely inspired in some ways. Like it just came through and I had this intention and I got the support that I needed and I got the affirmation and I met the person and the things came together to made it be so, because it was destined to be so. We're going to have a lot of experiences like that coming forward. So I wanted to wrap up today by reflecting on an experience I had a few years ago. So it was the summer of 2021. And I was in California at the time, and I woke up and it was this hot. It was a hot, dry. It was so hot those days. Do you know when it's like so hot you can feel it's almost like the sky and the earth are meeting and feel so much pressure and heaviness? It was like that. And it was one of those rare days. It was so hot that I left my dog at home. So I was on a rare hike alone, no other people on the trails. And the pressure in the air was so unique and still that I could hear every sound of the forest. It was like the forest was just an orchestra. It was really remarkable. I could hear the little legs of the insects rubbing together and the wings of the butterfly whooshing by and the birds like doing their thing, hopping around in the trees. And I remember thinking like it was so still. It almost felt otherworldly. And this is a trail I'd been on a billion times. And I came to this turn that leads up to a stairway. And I came around the turn, and when I looked up the stairway, there was this bird. There was this bird that was almost, it was like otherworldly. It was so huge, and it was made to seem even bigger because it was like sitting at the top of this stairway. And I immediately dropped to my knees instinctively. And something in the air shifted. And no, I hadn't taken mushrooms. I know a lot of you are like, were you on mushrooms? No, I had not. I was not even microdosing at the time. And I was immediately in the energy of a different time, a different time, a different place. And I picked my head up and I was just in awe, like in awe and wonder. And through my mind, I heard a message, which I now know as my guide. I didn't know then. But what came through was a message of 3 instructions. The first was don't look away. The second was stand your ground. And the third was save that which is worth saving and let the rest go. Don't look away. Stand your ground. Save what is worth saving and let the rest go. And again, she was like, got it, got it, got it. And once she knew I had it, this magnificent bird took off. And it was only when it kind of went to lift up, I could see the bands under its wings to see it was a condor. And later on that night, I realized that a lot of California was already on fire. And a lot of the birds were already knew this ahead of us and migrating. So I was reflecting on this experience, which was now 4 years ago, and how it was such a beautiful reflection of this moment we're in right now, where nature already knows what's coming. The birds, the plants, they already know what's coming, what's ahead, and they are supporting us on this way, on this path, on this future and our evolution. Our task right now is to do these things, is to not look away from the difficult, challenging, heartbreaking, but truthful realities in front of us. We cannot move out of this frequency of domination, power over, and controlling fear until we fully face the reality of how much of our society has been ruled by that. How many humans are still entrained in that program and may very well stay in that program. But in our own lives, we have to face this truth before we can move beyond it. Stand our ground. Standing our ground to me right now is protecting the people who are most impacted by these fear dynamics and authoritarian dynamics. Like just this morning, I woke up having a harder time than usual with what's happening. And so I remedied that by going and visiting my Black friends. And there aren't many here in Vero Beach, but there are a fraction of Black people here. And I went to see them, to just be with them and get eyes on them and to see if they were okay. Because this end of the end, these fear dynamics and power over are going to impact them way more than the rest of us. So stand your ground to me is to stand fully in this new frequency, embody this new frequency, express this new frequency, and most of all, act this new frequency. And part of acting this new frequency is protecting those who cannot protect themselves, those people who are most threatened of harm by this frequency, and understanding that any harm or pain or suffering that is inflicted upon them is inflicted upon all of us. So when we act and express and do what we can in our individual lives to stand up and protect, whether it's immigrants or minorities or women or children around the planet, this is one of the most significant ways that we end this old programming once and for all. The last one is save what is worth saving and let the rest go. There's parts of our culture and our society that we're going to be leaving behind, and good riddance, right? Those things that are driven by fear and control and manipulation and rigging, we're going to see a catastrophic amount of that. We're going to see so much fuckery, so much incompetent fuckery in the next year. Don't stare at it too long. Trust me, it'll hurt your brain. However, what we can focus on in terms of what is worth saving is there are beautiful elements to our society and to our country here in the US that were created from a place that speaks to the best in us. And all you have to do is travel in other parts of the world to be reminded of how people see us, of how we can be, even at moments in history when we are not behaving in a way that is in line with our highest potential, such as now, right? So I think saving those elements of society, saving those elements of our government in many cases that were created to serve the best in us are worth saving. So when things are breaking down, and they're going to be breaking down, and it's not the authorities who save us, when it's just regular people like you and me who step in to support people, and create what needs creating, there's going to be distinct elements of things that we are able to preserve and to save. And again, help people bridge that gap so that the change is less abrupt and easier to bring in across the generations to come. So lastly, I want to thank you all for being here, for being together, most of all, for being hopeful and resilient and strong, and in so many ways that people don't see, but Spirit sees. All the things you do every day that are contributing to who we can be, who we are becoming, and know how incredibly important it is, even if it's in the ways that can't be seen yet, that can't be made visible yet, that are eventually going to be the harvest that comes perhaps 3, 5, 7 generations from now. Know that it matters and that Spirit sees all. There's nothing we do or don't do that Spirit doesn't see. So it all counts. Just know it all matters and it all counts. So thank you. Thank you again. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being in my world. And I will look forward to seeing you back in just a couple weeks. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening to the Microdosing for Healing podcast. Ready to take the next step? Please visit us online at microdosingforhealing.com. There you'll find lots of information about our global community, professional training programs, and upcoming immersions. See you there.